This program is brought to you by Taom Billiards.
Too fast, too fly, too flaunt it, too gas, too high, yeah, we on it. We go wherever the crew going. I'm ready, so tell me who want it.
Evening, welcome back to Live Pool on your telly here this evening on Free Sports. We have the Shootout Showdown back with you once again tonight. 4 more pool protagonists go head to head for a princely prize pot of £4,000. Tonight, it's Jimmy Johnston versus Kevin George first up, and Simon Webb caught up with them both.
How excited to be part of the Shootout Showdown?
Really excited, and to be honest, I've got a bit of nerves as well.
Pretty excited really, pretty well. It's going to be good.
What is it about money matches that excites you over tournament pool?
It's just the atmosphere, to be honest, and the thrill you get from the crowd. Get a bit of stick when you miss, which spurs me on sometimes.
I seem to concentrate a lot more on money matches and take it a bit more serious.
Does the size of the pot you're playing for change the amount of pressure you feel on the table?
To be honest, no, not really, but I've never played for a massive pot, to be honest. So
No, there's always pressure on all sorts of money match, any amount of money really.
And live TV tonight for the first time, nervous or excited?
I'd be lying if I said I weren't nervous, but that's a good thing. I think I need a bit of nerves before I play.
And thoughts on your opponent?
I played him before. He's actually beat me before, but that was over a longer format, so this will suit my game more. So obviously, hopefully, I get the win tonight.
Wish you the best of luck.
Cheers, pal.
This isn't your first taste of live TV, Paul. You've played in a shootout before. Do you think that'll give you an advantage?
Not really, no. Jimmy's a good player. I've seen him play loads of times, so I know he's capable of just as much as anyone else really.
Wish you the best of luck tonight.
Cheers. Thank you.
Jimmy Johnston and Kevin George there. Welcome to Shootout Showdown Pool once again here on Free Sports. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb with you as ever to guide you through another night of shootout action. These two are facing off for £2,000 in our first game this evening, and we have another couple lined up for you later on as well. 2 more matches to come. Simon, you chatted with both players earlier on. What were the vibes off the camera? Because as we know, we don't always get the media training of these athletes at the top level. You know, don't always get the true personalities. How do you think they're both feeling?
I think both players, we saw it on the interview there, I think both players are pretty nervous. I think the live TV element adds to the nerves. I think both players are keen to get out there. I think they're both quietly confident, but I think they're both believe that if they play well tonight, they're going to walk away with the money, and that's what you want. It's a very evenly matched up match.
Yeah, and that's what we've certainly got. We've got another belter coming up for you later on as well, as we see both players here go through the lag. This is to decide who will break first. Jimmy Johnston there, left-hander, and a very, very natural cue artist. You're watching him warm up earlier on our monitor here. Simon, very, very natural player. Reminder of our rules before we get started. We are playing the shootout format with black ball rules. So a ball must hit a cushion after contact. A foul introduces 1 free shot, and then a visit. No 2 shots or 2 shots carry, anything like that. You can pop both colour sets as long as you pop them at the same time, a yellow and a red, for example. Shootout rules mean we introduce the golden break and the golden duck, which means if you pop the black off the break, you win the frame. Pop the black and the white, you lose it. Drama in abundance there. 2 shootout sets. If we're tied 1-1, we will go to a 1-frame decider. 30-minute set clocks with a 20-second shot clock throughout. It's all set here. We can see the balls being racked for our first frame of the match. So we are almost ready to go between Jimmy Johnston and Kevin George. Live pool. Welcome back. Shootout Showdown Pool is just about to get going here in the West Midlands. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb here to guide you through our first game of the evening as Kevin George takes on Jimmy Johnston. It should be a great game. We saw Jimmy earlier as he was warming up, Simon. We really admired the way that he played. It's Kevin George who has the first break everything, of course, in pool, and it looks like he's going to come up dry for the opener. So we will get to see Jimmy Johnston at the table straight away. Black in motion now off the break, which is encouraging, and he's maybe a little bit unlucky not to get a ball down there. It's a pretty good split.
Yeah, probably not the most powerful break he's ever hit, but they've come out okay, and this is a good first opportunity for Jimmy. of the 4 players that are playing tonight, it's Jimmy has certainly put in the most table time since he arrived early this afternoon. He's been on the table as much as possible, obviously allowing the other players to have a little go, but he seemed more keen to get more time in, and he looked to be queuing beautifully. Have to say, he was really getting through the ball as well as I've seen anyone at in the Shootout Showdown so far. As is so often the case in a little finish like this, it's the transition from the bottom half of the table to the top half. You see all the yellows are in the way. He needs to pick a path, decide which side of the table he wants to come up. If he's going to, he could screw just up the left-hand side. But he looks like he wants to come across the centre of the table. Yeah, and he got into that way too much. And snookers himself. That was a hard, really tough line to pick.
Total snooker called by referee Donna Evans, which means Jimmy doesn't have to hit a cushion after contact, but still manages to hit the reds. It was an easy hit, but it hands over the table, of course, to Kevin Jordan. A good chance here for Kevin. I mean, realistically, after dry breaking, this is as good an opportunity as you can get, really. Yellows are all together. Doesn't have to worry about the 2 reds at the top of the table. They're out of his way. And a good plant to kick him off. It's a good opening shot.
Just looking at the mistake again, and you can see from the overhead how tight the line he was trying to pick. He had to go very close to the 2 yellows and avoid the sort of group around the black, and there just was so little margin for error. Way too much side on it, and I think he might have been better to go the more guaranteed way and screw up the side of the table. First shot was key for Kevin. Opened everything up with that shot, but it was nice that he could play it with a little bit of confidence, knowing he wasn't going to be leaving reds on.
Yeah, it doesn't work out with pattern here, but should really have 4 drop-ins.
I think he's straight enough. He can just top this through. Yellow to opposite middle. Oh, he's come up short, has he?
Oh, I think he's just okay, but only just.
Yeah, the problem with this, though, it is just okay. The white is now going up. It's going to be in the bulk area. Okay, he should still be able to drop it in. Well, he's gone the other way and tried to go round the reds. And
oh, that's amazing, isn't it? That's what can happen.
It's the shot before, really, that's the bad shot. He probably felt he couldn't drop that in and stay on the black, but the shot before, he should have been made sure that he was straight.
Can he cut it in? Not quite. Is he going to get a horrific fluke? Not quite. So Jimmy Johnston with a chance at redemption in this opening frame. Both players, when they had the frame at their mercy, running out of position. Jimmy Johnston here. Don't think as an opening pot this is probably going to be a snooker attempt.
Oh, that's poor.
Oh, it's not a good one.
And that's a foul. He hasn't hit a cushion after contact with the red. I thought he was going to play really thin off the red, and then so he's hit the red before he hits the cushion, and then the white will come back behind it. He wanted to try and sort of nudge it open a little bit more, and that's caused the foul. So that will give away the frame.
Shot on a visit, which means Kevin here can just use that red just to get himself an absolute dolly on the black. A nice and easy finish after the error from Jimmy Johnston. A little bit unlucky maybe on his first, but the second one was a bad one. It's his break next, so an immediate chance to make amends. His favourite player is our Super Series winner. As here, but on that neck of the woods, Jimmy Johnston from Atherton, big Bolton fan.
Decent win-loss record, isn't it? When he's won more than when he's lost as well, so you'd be happy with that.
I think 12-2 is about as much as you can hope for, really.
Absolutely. These money matches that these guys are playing, they're not easy. There's a lot of pressure. And to have a money match lined up, you know, your opponent has to believe they can win to be putting in that sort of money to go up against you, so it should always be a fairly even contest.
So another dry break, 2 out of 2, 1 apiece. This time it's not as kind a split. What can Kevin do here? 20-second shot clock, remember, which is consistent, but it can take those who are not used to it a little by surprise. Easy on that yellow at the bottom of the table.
I don't think so. I think he might actually be self-snookered here. Maybe just get through to the yellow at the bottom, but I don't think he can pot it.
I think it was a plant attempt, wasn't it? It was a tough shot, and in doing so, it might just open this up for Jimmy Johnston, because now he has a couple of bad balls. His opening pot's good. Oh my goodness me. Yeah, all right. I talked earlier about his cueing. That is crisp.
Really gets through the ball well. He's a very clean potter of the ball.
When you see a screw shot like that, really is so satisfying to watch, isn't it, when you can see it's been hit so purely. The second shot, by contrast, is a poor one. He wanted that red to cover up the pocket. As it is, it's now an even bigger problem for him than it was before, which is the exact opposite of what he wanted to happen.
Yeah, and this game isn't all about potting balls. It is about the patterns that you play and knowing when to go for it, when not to go for it. So as good as the first shot was, you know, the second shot was actually, you know, he had the potential to take the command in the tactical battle, and the second shot has cost him, really.
You need to be careful the audience of which you're putting that proposition out there. It's like saying to a football fan, it's not all about scoring goals.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, of course it is. It's about potting your 7 and then the black, but sometimes you can't do that, and it's about when you attack, when you play defensive.
It absolutely is. Look, I knew what you meant. But I think the thing is as well, you just see, can take on a double. Don't think he wanted the second ball to roll in, but it has, and he's recovered really nicely.
So 3 yellows aren't a problem, but the black does need a little nudge. The problem is he has a perfect angle now to nudge into the black. If he decides to do that, he's going to probably knock the black more safe, and he would be on the next yellow. And that's why he's played it with pace, to try and get a lot more movement, but it hasn't come out well.
He's a little unlucky there.
I think the odds were against him, and maybe precision off his last ball might have been the way to go, but I'm being ultra critical in saying that.
It didn't cut. It was such a tough shot, that. And Jimmy here has got a lot of leeway with these balls down the bottom of the table. Can probably lay quite a difficult snooker here. That's a better shot than his last. Much better.
Yeah, it's a good shot for a couple of reasons. He's managed to get a red just, it's only moved a couple of inches up the table, but that red is now in the open. But it's also those 2 reds that are together near the bottom right-hand corner, they now plant. So it's actually more open, quite significantly more open than it was pre his visit.
Just wondering out loud, really, the 2 shots that we've really seen Jimmy play that have been what you'd call poor. Shots that really required a little bit of a delicate touch. On both occasions he's overhit them. I just wonder if a little bit of adrenaline's flowing, He sort of admitted in his interview he'd be lying if he said he wasn't a bit nervous, first time on live TV and what have you. Might just take him a couple of minutes just to settle down a bit, Well,
I think the one thing we've seen through the shootout showdowns is that players have taken time to settle down. This is, a tough environment to play good pool.
Oh, I thought I was going to sneak in for a second.
So
It's been one of the shots of the tournament.
But going back to the environment, it's a really tough environment to play pool. They're playing for a lot of money, and especially for these guys, and a lot of the people that we've seen in the shootout showdown, it's, either the first match they've played on live TV or one of the very early matches they've played on live TV, and it takes time to settle down and really get into it. So it's not a surprise if we do see the odd mistake because of that.
Yeah, Jimmy's happy to play the waiting game here. He's got the ability to do that. Total snooker has been called. So again, it's not a difficult hit for Kevin, but he's just fighting against the tide here, really. Oh, I say it's not a difficult hit. He tried to swerve it, and that gives Jimmy a massive opportunity. This should be frame over. you surprised to see him play it that way?
Yeah, the problem was I think it was hard to hit the yellow that he went for. Actually, he had to swerve it to miss the middle pocket, and actually swerved it too much. He probably felt that he couldn't, he couldn't not hit the yellow as long as he missed the middle pocket, but got into it way too much. The yellow at the top of the table actually would have just been a natural hit, but I think it was probably the right choice to go for the one on the cushion because you want to nudge it open.
For those confused as to why Jimmy played that yellow first, were he to run aground, which he may well have done, the next shot for Kevin would be very, very difficult. But Jimmy's still, I think, okay. But this is a much tougher shot than he'd liked it to have been.
He didn't even take it on in the end.
He's tried to play the snooker, not got it.
I think it's a tactical error for me, and it's easy to say in hindsight, of course, because he didn't make the clearance. But I think if we were watching, one of the very top players in the game, we saw on that graphic a minute ago that the favourite player was Gareth Hibbert. If we'd seen Gareth Hibbert in that situation, there'd have been no thought about picking the white up and going to the top end of the table and potting that yellow. He would have just nudged the reds open at the bottom and backed himself to make the clearance. And it is a very subtle difference, but that's the difference potentially between making the clearance really easy and not.
Oh, again, thought it might have gone into the middle pocket. That'd have been quite a handy one for him. But this is a big shot, this one, because Kevin here really needs this to drop, really. 2 balls here. Sitting ducks for Jimmy on his next visit. What can Kevin produce? Not quite. Not quite, and that now has to be frame over. But it was a really tough pot.
Yeah, that's as thin as it can be. He'd have been happy. I actually thought he might make it because when your opponent leaves you a shot you feel you probably shouldn't get, you sometimes can feel a little bit happier over it.
It'll be a frame apiece after 17.5 minutes. Remember, first to 5 or the score at half an hour, whichever one comes first. We'll decide our first set. This is Kevin George. He too has a very good money match record, 7-3. He's a Man United fan. Chris Melling is a favourite pool player. Played for some decent pots, 6k win and a 6.8k defeat, but generally a very good record. Again, that black's in motion, but so is the white. So is the white. Now, Jimmy with a great chance here. To go 2-1 up. It's not a bad split, this. Just needs to figure it out. All the balls are separate from each other apart from that red and yellow glued together at the bottom of the table. If you can open that up, he's really got his choice of colour set. That's exactly what he's done.
It's just about come out as he would have wanted. Red should be his colour choice from here. The red at the top left is blocking the black, so if he takes reds, they actually all have a pocket.
He's going to take yellows. He's just about all right. Got the insurance policy in the middle pocket, but he can cue through to this yellow to the bottom right.
Still got the big problem to work out, which is the black.
I just wonder, as we reach the halfway point in the frame, I just wonder, Simon, if that black sneaks past the red, but looking from this camera, absolutely no way. Tough to tell on the overhead shot we've got. He's actually gone into it. That's come out okay, I think. Maybe.
It's just about okay. The black is still more awkward than it really looks. The black doesn't go to either top pocket, I don't think. The question is, can he hold for it in the middle? Yes, he can. That's a lovely little nudge on the red. Now he can just drop this through and black in the centre. He's worked these out really nicely.
Yeah, it really has. Didn't go the way I expected to, but done really well. These middle pockets are tight. We've talked about this a lot over the course of the Shootout Showdown. But 2-1, Jimmy Johnston. Beautifully done. Reminder of our format, in case you missed it a little bit earlier. Blackball rules for the Shootout Showdowns. We all play 2 sets of half an hour. Each player does get an extension in each set. And as of now, in the second half of the sets, the match clock is paused as soon as the frame ends for the re-rack. And of course, sets can be tied. In the case of that, they get half a point each, the players. If it is 1-1, we have a relag and then a 1-frame shootout. Not got into that break at all, and he's going to get away with it. That is objectively a terrible break, and it's come out really well for him.
It's a silly game, isn't it? It really is at times. Didn't catch that break well at all, and as you say,
that's such a good split for him as well. That's amazing.
It's not too bad. Be interesting to see which way he goes. I thought he went the harder way last time, but he took them out nicely. Never really in trouble with it, so which way will he go this time?
He's called his extension. Just have a little look at these. But when we were watching Jimmy play a little bit earlier, Simon, and you mentioned how well he was cueing, we had a little look at him. I did wonder how good his break was going to be, because generally the better cueists, as it were, the ones who can really get through the ball well, tend to have a brilliant break. But so far on tonight's evidence, you probably wouldn't say that about Jimmy, although, I mean, his body of work, admittedly, for me to have seen, is not big enough to really pass a fair judgment, but not breaking the best.
No, I think Jimmy gets through the ball as well as most. He really does get through the ball beautifully, and that normally leads to really powerful breaking. He's got really easy power. He generates a lot of spin without having to hit the ball particularly hard, and I think over a longer sample size we might see his break be quite impressive.
It's difficult to teach that as well. It almost seems to be a bit of a almost innate talent. Oh, now then. Gonna need a good shot here.
Yeah, tried to play it that way because he knew the black was going to be his problem ball. It was his problem ball all the way through.
It's a tough shot, that, where he played the plant slightly thin in the end and wanted it to be the other side of the pocket, which really affected it.
I do think he possibly tried to play it in that way because he wanted that yellow to move out the way. He wanted to try and get the second red into the yellow, get that out the way so the black would go. But the one thing, I mean, the yellow didn't quite go far enough to do that, but the one thing he didn't quite get right was the control on the white.
Oh, that was a tough shot to play. It really was. That was nowhere near a natural angle. And to judge the side off these cushions for a shot like that was very tough. Having said that, if he'd have hit it, he'd have gone somewhere close to potting it, which I think is why he took the risk. Quite a clever little shot from Kevin.
The way Kevin's played that, I think, tells me the yellow that he's nearest will go to the bottom right corner. I think that's pretty, actually it's pretty clear. So everything's now in the open. It was a nice little shot. It is free visit. Although Kevin won the opening frame, he was in a similar situation to this and got himself just a little bit stuck towards the end of the visit. So although, you know, I always say that you kind of settle yourself down when you win that opening frame and you get into the match, he may well still want this one, you know, to really settle himself down to make that nice clearance.
Yeah, I think you could well be right.
purposely leaving it into the top pocket rather than the centre, just to give him more control onto the black. Could have gone either way.
Taking these out really nicely. Never looked like he was going to run aground. And we go 2 apiece. Beautiful done for Kevin George. 2 all then after 4. And it's been quite an impressive performance really from both players. I've been pleased with how they've settled after a bit of an edgy start. Both have had quite difficult clearances when they've really sort of reached the end of their breaks. It hasn't been easy.
Yeah, both players had good chances in that opening frame, and both players looked edgy, but I think Jimmy looks like he's in full flow now. You can see he hasn't really missed a ball yet, but his errors have all been positional errors where you feel like he should make the clearance and he's just got himself stuck, whereas Kevin's missed a few more pots. But I think that last counter clearance will settle him down, and well, with 2-2 with 9 minutes left on this clock, I think the early nerves should be gone.
That's a better break from Kevin there, but it's also going to come up dry. Oh, now I wasn't expecting Jimmy to miss that. This frame is pretty open for Kevin here. Don't think he'd have expected to be at the table here. It's a shot that you back Jimmy Johnston to make.
I think he just had to turn the white just a fraction to get to the pot. Just played that. You can see the white was spinning on its spot quite a bit. So he's not as nicely on this into the centre as he wanted to be. But that's a lovely shot.
Yeah, tougher shot than it looked. Been talking about it pretty much for the last few months on this Blackball table that's hosted the Super Series and now the Shootout Showdowns here on Free Sports. Does play very, very true, but also very tight in the middle pockets.
Yeah, beautiful table, it really is. These Blackball tables, but centre pockets play tighter than the corners, and it's just a characteristic of the table. Quite like that though. Certainly found a number of the players we've seen over the last 2 or 3 months out have to respect those centre pockets. This next positional shot is slightly delicate. If he's playing a little stun shot for the gap of the reds, the margin of error isn't huge. Margin of error isn't huge, and he's not landed, I don't think.
And the queuing's horrible for it as well. May just be able to trace aside, just swerve it around, but this is tough. You can see about half the ball, but it's not the half that he wants to be able to see. Extension call to help him figure it out.
Well, he was trying to get the yellow towards the left centre pocket off 3 cushions. He got a couple of double kisses that he wasn't expecting, but the yellow still tracked quite close. But it was the positional error that's cost him, and you can see what he was trying to do, but it's hard not to get the double kiss playing the way he did, but he didn't have much else on.
What we calling is that cocked hat treble?
Just a cocked hat, yeah, cocked hat that's gone wrong. Yeah. He'll be disappointed though, because although that margin of error on that positional shot wasn't huge, he would have expected to land on it, and once he'd made the pot into the right centre pocket early in the visit, he would have expected to take those out.
And these should be there now for Jimmy.
Are you surprised that both players have taken out, used their extensions this early in the match, or this early in the set? Both players get 1 extension per set, and we've seen in most of these Shootout Showdowns, the players have used it, waited until sort of the final couple of minutes, maybe where it's a crucial clearance with 2 minutes to go. So, both players have used it relatively early.
Well, I think we saw it last week, didn't we? I can't remember who it was, but it was Kerry who used it really late but used it as a means to see out the match, because she used her extension, an extra 20 seconds there to run down the clock and help us see a set out. So
Yeah,
it's the first time I've ever seen the extension used like that, which is very clever.
I think that was Vicky, wasn't it, in the second match last week?
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, no, it was clever. It just shows how clear she was thinking out there at the time, which is not easy to do in this environment, for sure.
Also, it's another safety problem from Jimmy Johnston. He's got away with it. He's got away with it. But I think Kevin's had a bit of a stroke of luck here, because I don't think you can see the easy one to the top left. And I'm not sure he can cut the one to the top right. He might be in a little bit of trouble here.
He probably can just about cut the one to the top right, but he's going to go for the plant. Or he's trying to play the red in off the red rather than the plant itself, but it wasn't a big pocket.
Oh, here's your frame. Tough shot. With 4 minutes left, this could be a big, big pot. Oh, unlucky. Unlucky. This is a massive frame to win.
The extra few seconds this tactical battle has taken up means that the clock's really run down quite a bit now. And it is a huge, huge frame, really, in the context of this set. Goes nicely done in the end. It took a couple of opportunities, but he does get himself in front, and both players had their chances, but it's Jimmy Johnston's that's one frame ahead. Not long left in the set. That could be crucial.
Yeah, there isn't long left. The clock has paused, so we do have best part of 4 minutes left here for Kevin to respond. It's been an edgy first set, hasn't it? Neither player is really, I don't think, settled to play their finest pool. It's the sort of set where it's a bit of a fight, and that could be a big, big battle to win that last frame. It may be the decisive one. It may well be the decisive one. Cash on the line. $2,000 tonight. With the break, he doesn't get into that one either. Goes for the cut break this occasion, but I just wonder if that's a little bit more intentional.
Yeah, he took a lot of pace off that, hasn't he? He doesn't want them to open up this time. He wants it to be an awkward split. He wants it to be messy. It wasn't what we'd call a tap break, which is where you're really not getting anything coming out the pack, but it certainly wasn't a full blown break.
I'll put you a touch on the spot here.
Okay.
Si, what's your thoughts on the ethics of that?
I think it's tactically a good choice. If you're putting in...
I didn't ask you about tactically.
If you're
I think objectively, of course, it's a good idea.
If you're putting in the money that these guys are in this battle, the tap break is probably the right choice of shot if you can execute it. And I would suggest that, and I don't know this, but I would suggest neither of these players probably tap break hardly ever in their life. So if you're not a player that's used to breaking, you could easily foul doing it. And I think it's probably not worth the risk if that's the case. But I don't have an issue with it, with a player deciding to do it. And actually, we saw it in the shootout when Liam Dunster did it, which I think it was in Doncaster in one of the early shootouts, and Liam did it, and the crowd loved it. The crowd were really behind it. They really understood it, and he's sort of almost, kind of known for that. He's not known for a tap break, but if anyone was going to do it, then Liam was going to be the guy that did. And and I think it kind of, I wouldn't want to see it all the time, but I definitely think it's got a place.
So, to get you to answer my question properly, because you've given a very political answer there. If you were saying Kevin George's seat just now, after witnessing Jimmy Johnston do that kind of break, how frustrated are you, or would you accept it as that's just how it is and you do the same?
Yeah, I'd accept it. I wouldn't be annoyed if my opponent chose to make that decision. I wouldn't think, oh, it's not the right thing to do. I know that some players would rather see a more open game and think, you know, trying to showcase Paul, but they're not out there trying to showcase Paul. They're out there trying to win money. And you know, it wasn't a full tap break here, but it's going to, it looks like it's going to win Jimmy this opening set.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm just here to ask the awkward questions. I don't have a horse in the race.
I've done well dancing around it.
Oh, he's lucky.
Here we go. This 25 seconds is no real chance here. From Kevin George's point of view, that he knows that he can't have any, you know, he can't be too annoyed with the you know, the soft break, because he had his opportunity to win that last frame, and it would have been him in the driving seat.
He'd have given it. It could go, you know, by the odds of this. But I think the way he came to the table, he could have had the Q arm of Ronnie O'Sullivan and the legs of Usain Bolt, and he still wouldn't have been able to do it. It was an impossible task, is what I'm saying. But that is the end of the first set. Jimmy Johnston is 1-0 up. He's 1 frame away from £2,000. Second set when we come back. Welcome back to the Shootout Showdown. The double teams here with Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb here for set number 2 of Jimmy Johnston and Kevin George. Should be an absolute cracker. An interesting first set. So it got very cagey towards the end in particular. Neither player really, I think, settled and played their best ball. But I think the break might have just given them a bit of a refresher and allowed them to come out firing as we see the first break of the second. Jimmy Johnston back to the cut break. And again, finding no luck.
Both players will feel like they should have won the first set. Both players had the opportunity to go 3-2 ahead. Both players had multiple opportunities to go 3-2 in front, and it was Jimmy that won it, and that was the pivotal moment in the end, as that last frame wasn't opened up, and it was a tactical battle. Kevin got the opportunity he needed. Well, to say he needed to start off this set better to set himself down, and it couldn't have gone worse.
That's a little unlucky. It's a tough shot to control. So Jimmy Johnston there with his choice of ball.
Going to go for reds. The one that's just over his hand. I was wondering what he was going to do with it. It did go into the left centre. It did go into the bottom right. He's moved into it, but I think there's still room to get onto it into the centre pocket. It's less likely that he could into the corner. In fact, he misses the plant anyway. But no damage done really. Not left the yellow on.
Yeah, I was going to say, almost played that as a bit of a shot to nothing. It was a really, really tough plant. You would be pretty safe in playing it. To play it again, it's quite a good shot in response from Kevin.
Pleased with that again. Not a snooker, but he's got the control in the frame at the moment.
And I think it'll give him a little bit of confidence as well, in the sense that where Jimmy has slipped up a couple of times tonight on multiple occasions, it has been his safety play. And to be reasonably controlled, play a couple of good shots in succession, will be quite satisfying. Potting, he hasn't really had much of a problem. Positionally, he's been pretty good. But he has come unstuck quite a few times with his safety shots. And a couple in a row there, which is pretty good. And now he's well on track to win the first frame of the second set. Reminder, Kevin George must win this set. If it's tied or if Jimmy wins it, Jimmy has taken home 2,000 quid.
Tight on the cushion means he's probably going to have to top this through. Black in the left centre. Possibly even goes in the top left corner as well, so shouldn't be a problem. Just has to cue this one in.
Well, we talked about these tight middle pockets, didn't we? He may well be taking it there, or is he taking it up to the top? It's up to the top, and it's off the jaws. Bit of a family fortune style effect there as the ball came out the jaws. It's not what he would have wanted. But it's interesting, I mean, we have been speaking about the middle pockets, and it's almost if he had that in his mind in a way, because I think most players would take that to the middle, you know.
He's definitely a player that really likes to cue through the ball and wants to punch everything in firm. And I think if you're going to take that, if you're going to play a shot that way, then the corner pocket was definitely the right choice. I think many players might have taken that in the centre pocket, possibly half an eye on the in-off. White would have been going close to the right centre. Didn't look at first glance to be absolutely natural, but it wouldn't have been too far away.
Middle pockets aren't for everyone, Simon. You had a text in the break, I know, from one of our players.
Yeah, Deb Birchall won last week. We've been talking about the tight middle pockets. She said, "Were you watching last week?" as she was slamming them in. It was a good performance last week from Deb and from all the girls in action last week. It was a really cracking show. With the black being at the top end of the table, it's just key to make sure you leave a nice angle.
Oh no. Oh, Kevin.
That one's all gone wrong. I was just saying he's got to leave a good angle on his last ball just to make sure he lands on the black nicely, but just decelerates on this completely, gets it all wrong. And this is thin now on the black, but he'll just be pleased to have a chance.
Let's have a look at this. This is tough. Too thin. I just wondered if we were going to see what's become known in my head, Simon, as the Mark Boyle shot, where he might have gone cushion first with a ton aside. You remember that shot? Premier League, I think it was, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, incredible.
Spent the rest of my summer trying to recreate that. I think I got maybe 1 in 1,000.
Yeah, it could be there a while. It was pretty impressive. It would have been impressive just in an exhibition, but to do it in the pressure of the Premier League.
I just wonder if he'd have looked to do that. Oh no, Kevin! How many chances? He played a really difficult cut really well. And he might be thinking, I thought these middle pockets were tight. Jimmy just has to make sure. It's amazing how often when you're trying not to pop one, how close they go, but you make sure with the second shot. Actually, great start to this second set, but Kevin will be kicking himself.
Yeah, 2 or 3 frames in the first set like that as well. When you consider he only lost 3-2 in the first set, you know, that could be the difference between winning and losing a set. It's a frame once Jimmy doesn't make that first clearance. However many visits to the table it takes, Kevin has to win that frame. It is his frame to lose.
Yeah, totally agree. Former county champion is Jimmy Fizz Johnston.
It's a pretty apt nickname for Jimmy. He does like to fizz the ball in, likes to play with a lot of spin.
It's raining, it's pouring. Just wonder the difference it would have made to this match to have had both players breaking really well and getting balls in, because it feels like both of them have struggled, despite, I think we've seen 1 or 2 pretty iffy breaks from Jimmy, but both players, aside from that, have generally broken pretty well in terms of how they're contacting the pack and getting balls on the move, whatever. In terms of getting balls down, they've both been very unlucky.
I think one thing you see with the break, and I know that Dan Davies a big advocate of this, and you've heard him on Free Sports, we've seen him on Free Sports, a great player. He talks about how his break improves when he knows he's playing well, when he's cueing well, he's getting through the ball better, and then he finds his break improves from it. And I think both players at the moment, and they were to a point all the way through the first set, just a bit tentative, a bit, you know, they're not settled out there. It is difficult, and I think that's probably not helped their break, which in turn is making, you know, the first chances feel tricky.
Shot. He's unlucky with how that's come out. He really is. Skill shot was brilliant, but that red has really slowed it down. He's had to play safe. He's unlucky there, Kevin George. It's a really good skill shot.
Good
the
safety,
white
though.
come out. That's the last frame. Yellow in. The white tracking into the middle pocket. He has been a bit unlucky, but it is all about the bounce back.
Oh, he's completely miscued that one. As unlucky as it was, or it was a little bit unlucky for Kevin to go in off in the last frame. That was ultimately the last shot that cost him. But he had enough chances and enough visits to the table prior to that to win the frame with control. That any poor luck or poor run that he had in that shot probably doesn't really, you know, isn't as big because he had the chances.
Just get the feeling one of these has to stick for Kevin. But he'll be pleased that his skill shot that he played now does come into effect. It was a great shot. He deserved to free up the pocket from them to make use of it. Played it absolutely beautifully. To his feet, but he's all right.
He's all right.
Been rewarded with horrific cue ball position.
It's the pot's not a problem, but I don't think he can avoid going into the red because the cue ball's on the cushion. So can he top through off the red? No, he's just nudged into it. And, well, this yellow is on, but it's ultra thin, which means the white, well, he won't be able to hold the white in the top half of the table. Can he play into the red off the top cushion? No. Just accepting a very difficult black.
Yeah, this is tough. Oh, that was so close as well. If he'd have played it any harder, I think he'd have ended up double kissing it in. Oh, that's unlucky. It's a great effort. But again, it goes back to what we said, and we said all summer. It's not necessarily that missed pot, it was a shot that nearly missed a couple previous, which just gave him a horrible cue ball on the cushion. It made the finish tricky.
Well, I just heard Jimmy say one more go. There's only one ball on the table that's tricky for him, and that's the one he's nearest to. He had a lovely little angle to land on it first time and finished short. Not the worst angle that time, and finished too straight on it. Oh, and this time he misses the pot, and he landed on it. So, silly game, but he's cost him the frame.
Well, Kevin George gets over the line. In some ways he deserved it, in some ways he'd have had absolutely no right. Oh, gee, I'm annoyed to have missed that. That sort of shot is really his bread and butter. Little tap of the table. It's not quite been flawless from Kevin George. He'd be the first to admit that, but he's still in with a shout here.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you know, Kevin will be annoyed. He'll be really frustrated with the way he's playing. He's not played anywhere near his standard, but the fact that he's still absolutely in this match, you know, he can be positive. He can think, right, just win this set, and he's right in this set. So.
It's 1-1. All to play for, all square. Again, the break not kind. Oh, that's a, well, to paraphrase two comedians, that is a bad miss. Oh, Kevin. And he knew it as soon as he hit it as well.
wasn't even trying to do too much with the white. He was accepting distance from his next ball. Sometimes the players can almost, I don't want to say drag each other down, but when it gets bitty like this and neither player can get going and find their rhythm, everything looks difficult out there.
Yeah, agreed.
And Jimmy's two pots into this visit and he's come unstuck, out of position. He's already knocked a red safer than it already was, so this visit's getting away from him.
Not a bad recovery shot though. Still got a bit of work to do, but still on for him. Oh, and then he goes and spoils it all. That was an easier shot than the last one he made, but I think you're absolutely right, Simon. Nothing is easy out there at the moment. Both players are feeling it.
If either player could find anything, they're gonna win this match. And I include Kevin. You know, Kevin's got to take this to win this set and take it to a deciding frame. But if the player that finds their rhythm and finds their game has a big opportunity, because neither player at the moment is in full flow.
Two nice shots from Kevin there. And he'll just be hoping and relying on his natural game, the one that's won him so many matches, so many frames down the years. Got to keep trusting himself. And he's actually on to take these out very, very nicely. I think this yellow threads the needle between the two reds to the middle. Sure does.
Just looks to be striking a ball with a fraction more authority in this visit. I think you kind of reach a point when you're struggling out there where you say enough's enough and you just start queuing through it firmer.
Might just have to accept distance. Here runs the black. He screws down. That's a really good shot.
Cut through that beautifully.
Really good clearance, Kevin George. He really needed that. Goodness me, did he need it. Both in terms of the match, but also in terms of his overall mentality. I think both players have really been struggling. That was a really good, top quality clearance.
That was his best visit to the table, and it was his best visit to the table by quite some considerable margin. He just looked like he was saying enough's enough here, I'm going to start hitting the ball with authority, and he did. He struck the ball beautifully all the way through that, and he ended up with a clearance.
And don't forget how he started that frame, by missing a yellow, I think it was. He'd have backed himself to make blindfolded.
Yeah, I do think that you reach a point in a match where you're really struggling, and you just say enough's enough, and it's almost like the nerves go, you're like, well, how much worse can I make it here? And then you suddenly start thinking, right, I'm just going to really get through the ball. And I think that happened to Kevin George in that frame.
Oh, wouldn't you know it? Ball off the break. We talk about sometimes, we end up talking about quite a lot, the sort of idea that when it's going against you, it has a tendency to really go against you. Like, errors can be compounded by the pool gods, as people call them. So, you know, if you make a horrible error and lose a frame when you're breaking next, the amount of times you end up breaking dry, it is pure coincidence, but it seems like it isn't. And it also works the other way. If you start to play well, it is amazing how much it will start to go for you with the intangibles.
Yeah, I think there is. Yeah, of course, there is some luck on the break, and Kevin's hit some good breaks that have come up dry tonight. But I think that's probably the best he's struck the break so far. So it's no surprise to see him make a ball. He certainly deserved to with the quality of the strike.
Didn't play his safety as well as he might have, so he could sneak through to that red. Reds are all there. Need some figuring out though.
Just the red bit nearest the cue ball now. I just question whether he's got a full pocket to the bottom left for that red. If not, potentially take it up to the top left-hand corner or play into it. It's not played into it. It's not too bad. He's still on the one to the top right from the overhead.
A little bit lucky. Won't mind that though. That's a handy nudge. I think the tap of the table might have even been an apology because that's come out lovely.
Yeah, and it's a lovely little angle, isn't it? You can just drift down for the red at the bottom of the table. Oh, has the white gone too far? Just too far. He can still pot this, but the white is going to have to cannon into the red.
I wonder if he takes the one to the middle. No, he doesn't. Out the cannon. No. Can't be good. Be lucky. He's played a couple of shots there which have been taken out well, but the way they've come out was almost forced that, and that's come out beautifully for him. Well, both players bring their best pull to the table in the last couple of frames. Great clearance from Jimmy Johnston there. We saw a great one from Kevin the frame before. Business is picking up.
As much as you can in a 20-second shot match, you feel like Jimmy just stepped it up a little bit there as well. Felt like Kevin did in the frame before in terms of the way he struck the ball, but Jimmy certainly was a bit more pace around the table.
That's our second match tonight. Shane Tregale versus Dan Morgan. Both of those two are very chipper, speaking to them earlier. Looking forward to that one. And a little bit of needle between them as well. Very friendly, but we will, of course, be playing that one up.
Yeah, it was light-hearted, but it was good to see both players. You know, they were having a little bit of banter with each other as there was practice happening, as well as some of their comments in the interviews, which was we will see.
Yeah, we sure will. So Jimmy there breaking dry. 10.5 minutes left. Time is starting to run out in this match. Don't forget, Kevin needs to win this set. He can't halve it or he's lost the match.
Hardest ball on the table for him is this one on the left-hand side, touching the rail. He is on that now. I think if he can just drop this in.
Sure.
I was wondering whether the other one that's on is near the cue ball now, I think goes through the gap of the two yellows so he can play the plant. But he just got into the white more than he wanted.
He's still playing it. A tough shot than it could have been.
Oh. It's a good plant. He makes the plant, but yeah, it's unfortunate. Wasn't expecting the cannon on the yellow, was just trying to go on and off the cushion and white into the bottom half of the table. If he plays it plain ball, white's going close to the corner naturally. Touch unfortunate, it's going off, but
Jimmy clears the road. And this big frame now for Jimmy. If he can win this and go in front, means Kevin has to win the next two. There may not even be time for two, who knows? There's no time limit on frames. They can go a bit longer. They can, of course, go a little bit quicker. Kevin ought to be thinking, if I have to take that in 2 minutes, I've got to back myself to be able to do it. So at the end of the first set, he came pretty close to wiping all 8 balls off the table in a minute.
when you need clearances with very little time left on the clock, it needs, you know, you want the first visit finishes, and we've had very few of them in this match. I think it's just one reverse dish between the two of them, and a lot of frames have eaten up time because they've needed multiple visits.
Now then, extension call, which I think shows just how important Jimmy does regard this frame. He sees this as the key. It's a big extension to use because
he's not playing the pot, he's playing the safety. Interesting choice. He just came, well, not quite far enough down the table to be on that yellow nicely. Time will tell whether works out to be a good choice for him or not. Well, it's probably as good as Kevin George could have hoped for. He hasn't given away the foul, and he hasn't left it really easy. He's left Jimmy on this yellow, but the control of the cue ball, the white's going towards the red that's above the yellow. He may even be going like close to the gap. Yeah, he did get the gap, but
it's come out all right.
Yeah, that's come out well.
Nearly didn't.
It's still not easy though, because the yellow that's right in the middle of the table, if he takes the one to the bottom left, he can't land nicely on the one in the middle of the table. He can land on it, but it wouldn't be an easy pot. So he's taking the one in the middle first. He's controlled that well. Best shot he's played for a little while.
Big frame to win this. Less than 7 minutes remain. This to make Kevin George need the next two. Nails it. Jimmy Johnston is now a big favourite in this one.
You have to say, he used his extension well, and he played a very good tactical shot. If he'd gone for that finish and didn't make it, could have easily gone 3-2 behind. The fact that he's managed to get that second opportunity and made no mistake with it, he really is in the driving seat.
I think he actually, looking back, sorry, I think he probably used his extension just to make the decision, not to do any sort of technical work line at the angle or do some figuring out of, you know, how to play the angle or anything like that. It was, do I go safe or do I go aggressive? That was his only decision there that I think he used the extension to make.
Yeah, and you have to weigh up the odds. You know, how likely am I to make this next shot, which is really difficult, compared to how likely is it that if I put him in a snooker, which was all but guaranteed, am I going to get a better opportunity next visit? And he absolutely did get a better opportunity.
It was a good break from Kevin. Made a ball. And those yellows. Doesn't have to worry too much about time. He hasn't got a lot. 6 minutes left here. But at 20-second shot clock, if he plays well and makes his pots, he doesn't have to worry about the time. It'll take care of itself.
Often say in this situation, don't we, that it's just imperative he wins this frame. If he loses his frame, he's going to lose the match. If he wins this frame and it takes him 4.5 minutes to do so, at least he's got a fighting chance of making some sort of clearance in the next frame. Problem he's got here is the black. How and when does he try and develop it? He has an angle to develop it now. Can he stay on the other yellow when he does so? He's missed the black.
He's still on the yellow, but at this point, yeah, how do you develop it? To play into that yellow there as well.
No, I don't think he was playing on this. I think he was playing into it.
Just trying to see if there's any way he can make the black. It's tough.
I think if he can get the white to the bottom cushion. No, it doesn't, looking from this angle.
It's a great pot.
Well, I mean, there's next to no pocket in the centre. It's almost impossible. Is he going to try and make this off a cushion somewhere?
Well, what's he got?
Oh,
would you believe it?
That's insane. Oh,
Kevin George, what have you done? Oh, no. Wow. Wow.
He wasn't playing it like that. There's no way. There's no way he was playing like that. I think he was probably trying to play the black off the other red at the top of the table. If he catches the other red half ball, it's got a chance of going in, but to catch that red full ball and follow it in, it's a 1 in a million shot.
That's amazing. Oh, that's amazing. Look at that. I think I saw the hand go up there as he walked back to Jimmy.
Yeah, Jimmy knows, and absolutely knew that was not as intended. I think his plan probably was what I was saying, which was to play it off the other red at the top of the table, and he would have been, you know, it would have been taken an amazing shot, but that shot was on. But to hit that ball the way he did, and for it to follow it in, it really is I called it a 1 in a million shot, and I sort of stand by it.
Yeah. And
you'd have to stand there a long time to try and play that shot in that way again.
Oh, if you attempted to play that shot, it wouldn't be far off 1 in a million odds. It was ridiculous. The skill shot to win the game, or to win the frame rather. Amazing. And that is the black ball rules, which make a shot like that possible. Absolutely incredible.
Just watching that replay again, I wonder whether the shot that I was talking about was actually on. I don't know whether there was quite the room there, and he hit that with so much pace. I think it possibly was just a hit and hope. Oh, is the white? Oh, he's snooping himself. I was just thinking that Jimmy's done so nicely to work his way through this visit after what happened in the previous frame. All he needed was another 2-3 inches on that, and he would have given himself his shot at the black, and that would have been, well, I would have won in the match if he could have got onto the black. But now Kevin has a fighting chance here. 2 minutes 50 is plenty. He has to come up with a really good safety shot here, which he's got. Here we go. This is Kevin George's chance. Half a thought to potting the red. Yeah, he is going to pot the red, possibly screw into the yellow. Wanted to catch the yellow full ball, not cushion and yellow at the same time. But the reason I say pot the red, you want to get it away from the pocket so that if he has to play another safety shot, he's potentially not going to be leaving a pottable ball on.
Just our referee Donna Evans give there's a little bit of a tickle. Not socially distancing as they walk around the table. There's a system set in place so that we can keep the social distancing as best we can. The three people in the arena, the referee and the 2 players. All the cameras are robotically and remotely controlled. Worth pointing out, in the middle of all that, Kevin George was playing a degree of safety as he knew he would leave the snooker, but he played a phenomenal plan.
He did, yeah, and just now he's got this far through it. This is where the pressure comes on.
Oh, sure.
Keep that well, because he had to get into that really nicely. He hasn't. The problem is he hasn't left a good angle on this ball to get onto the black nicely.
He can take his time. He doesn't have to rush. He has got the time. He's got 50 seconds here for one ball. There will be another frame, so there will be a chance for a response. Great pot, Kevin George. Yes, that's a brilliant clearance. Gotta give him a huge amount of credit there. Gotta give both players a bit of credit, but especially Kevin for some of the mistakes he's made in this set alone. To bounce back and play some of the pool that he's played has been absolutely brilliant. Really, really good from Kevin George. Absolutely terrific work, and that shows a lot that he's got a lot of grit, a lot of ticker to keep himself going there.
It's not easy to suddenly be able to start hitting the ball with this authority when you consider how, well, he was gone really halfway through the second set. He was playing so far below his level. The fact that, okay, massive piece of fortune to tie the scores up, but that was a lovely visit to the table to get himself in front, and he's right in this match.
He really is. It looks like we're going to a decider. It's Kevin with the break. He's going to run the clock down. It's absolutely within his rights to do this. And he's even made a ball, so that will pretty much ice the frame. It means we are going to go to a decider. One frame for $2 grand.
Just have to pot the ball here. There is nothing to worry about.
Yeah, both players know that's a great win for Kevin George. And both players here will re-lag to decide who will break first, which is an important element of this. So we've noticed both players haven't been breaking too well throughout this match, but as it sort of developed and both players have started to pick up, it goes back to what we were saying earlier, they started to break a bit better. Kevin in particular is starting to make balls off the break, and the break is always so big. It's never bigger than in a one-frame decider.
Yeah, the break's huge, and both players have struggled with the break. Yes, we know that, but the break's improved as the match has gone on, and I think Kevin's made a ball off his last 3 breaks, having not made a ball on the break all the way through. So if he manages to get the break, you feel like he might give himself a great opportunity. But it's a tough lag to beat.
Yeah, I mean, usually the lag's pretty irrelevant, really. Whoever breaks first, you don't really care too much about it. But in this scenario, it becomes very, very important. And Jimmy Johnston is going to have a chance to break first. And what he would give for a ball, all he wants is a ball down and a chance to go and win himself the match, and 2,000 quid as well.
I think he'll be a little bit shell-shocked with the way, you know, he probably felt he'd done enough to win the match in that last set, and that just incredible piece of fortune with that skill shot to tie the scores up. It's even after that, he had an opportunity to win the match, and he finished 2-3 inches short of position on what would have been a pretty good chance to wrap it up on his last 2 balls. So he'll feel like he probably should have won the match already. So if he doesn't get this first opportunity, he could feel it slipping away.
It's going to come up dry, but I'm not sure he's left an opening shot. Oh, we're in for a close one.
It's going to be a tense frame with that split, with the way the white's finished.
That's a great opening shot. He's had a really good plant in the last set. Towards the end of the last set anyway. Using that final frame. But he ended up winning. It could be there for him.
Oh, that's unlucky. That is such a good pot into the centre to try and develop, and he had to try and develop the yellow that's just below it. To go past it and get the gap's really unfortunate. Any kiss on the red and you feel like he's still going to have a shot.
He just tried to take the pocket there with a plant up to the top left. I don't think he's left a huge amount.
Just looking at the layout, actually, I think there possibly is a chance here. No. Looks like Jimmy's gone into sort of defensive mode here. I think earlier on in the match, if that was 0-0, I think he takes that on and he goes for the finish there. There's only one red that's a problem, and there's a red so close to it that you feel like he's got a chance to nudge it on nicely. Now the frame has gone tactical. Once you sort of make that bed, you have to sort of get in it, really, because he's tied a red up at the top. Now the reds at the bottom are tied up. He's in a, could be a drawn out frame here. Of course, no set clock or match clock to worry about. It is just winner takes all on this frame.
Well, Kevin there has basically said, go on then, if you want it.
He knows he's got the sort of safety of the yellow covering the bottom left corner pocket. So he decided to bump his yellow out. Almost tease Jimmy into taking these on. Can he might screw down the left-hand side of the table and try and make something happen here. Yeah. Hasn't quite. He's got one out.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's just not the end of the world, that.
He's got one out, and he's got an angle to get the other one out here. Key shot. Oh, that's unfortunate.
Oh, I don't think it goes.
No, the second kiss has hurt him. It looked like it was perfect. And just got a second kiss.
Does he have an angle here? To get behind it.
I think he's thinking red off the yellow. But if he takes that on now, he's difficult to get on his next ball, so he might leave it for his last shot.
How do you like that?
Yeah, because it's easier to get on the black off it. I think that's the reason. If you're going to play that shot, then you kind of, you know, you're all in really. Yeah, he's already had one good look at this.
Extension calls. Just going to line this one up.
And see what he's trying to do. Pace is going to be key. You need to play at a really nice, delicate pace. Doesn't need to do much with the white. There's a tendency to always get these a fraction thick.
Oh, shots go.
Oh, yes, what a shot.
What a shot. And shots go with £2,000 on the line. That is so clutch. And he's not left himself the easiest black, but he'd back him to make it. Oh, no. No. After playing a worldie to give himself the chance to win it, he slides the black left.
That was a difficult black, being that on the cushion, queuing across the cushion like that. Having made such a good shot before it, he would have wanted it to be easier than that. Even if it comes off an inch off the cushion, you think he's not going to miss the black, but it just landed awkward enough. So he's had his chance. It's now Kevin's opportunity, and they're all there for him, really.
These can't be missed at this point.
Well,
surely.
I don't think that's ever the case. Yeah, he wanted the white to go another 2-3 inches. That was tentative. Another 2-3 inches, then it is really simple. Now he's got to take it to the bottom right corner and screw back. If the white's going into the black, he's just got to be careful not to snooker himself.
He's called his extension. I have a feeling that heart rate is going to be right up there at the moment for Kevin George. He's played so well in recovery.
He was playing firmly into the black. He wanted to catch the black full in the face to hold the white. Now he's in. He's from finishing 2 inches short on the previous positional shot, he's now a long way out of position, and this is a huge pot.
Is there a reprieve for Jimmy Johnston? No, what a shot that is, but what a black he's left.
Well, Jimmy Johnston's black was tough. This is probably tougher.
For £2,000. Oh, off the jaws and out. Off the jaws and out. Oh, goodness me.
And it's come just far enough down the cushion to make this horrible little pot.
Goes for the double and it stays. Oh, this is amazing.
And then now he knows. Now he knows this is...
Yeah, you can't miss those. Goodness me. What a finish. What a finish. Unbelievable. Kevin George wins the opening Shootout Showdown match. Absolutely remarkable finish. We'll have a little look back at that when we come back, as well as our next game, which will be an absolute belter. Do stay. Well, what an extraordinary finish in the Shootout Showdown. Kevin George takes the 2,000 prize pot over Jimmy Johnston in an unbelievable decider sign. We saw some drama in the conclusion of the second set that even took us to a decider, but that deciding frame had a little bit of everything. Both players had multiple chances to win it. Absolutely incredible. First off, Jimmy Johnston plays an unbelievable shot on the red after a fantastic clearance to get to this point, and then misses the black.
He showed a lot of control and really worked out his finish nicely to that point. He knew he was going to have that big shot to play, and he came up with it. But I think the way he played that in the end, he was always going to leave a difficult black. And I think potentially if he was going to play the shot before off the yellow with firm, with stun, maybe he could have stunned the white into the top half of the table and had the black into the centre.
And Kevin George ran aground in his clearance, made his clearance very difficult, left himself a really awkward one, and left it dangling precariously. But it wasn't easy. Jimmy Johnston didn't fancy the cut. Controversial decision?
I don't know. From the main camera, it looks like the cut's possibly the shot. I think I probably would have played the cut, but when you get behind it and you fancy the double, and he would have fancied that straight double to the corner, then why not?
Kevin George there thanking someone upstairs. That's amazing.
He probably would have been annoyed that Kevin George got a little bit fortunate when he missed. The black came down the rail rather than just into the open table. And then he was possibly thinking, a bit frustrated that he didn't land nicer on the black than he was. But he had his chance to win it, and he didn't land nicely on the black himself. And actually, he had the chance to win it in the main set itself, where he ran out of position with 2 balls to go when it was a chance to win, and then obviously in the deciding frame there. So he had his opportunities, he didn't take them, and then fortune was on Kevin George's side.
It was an extraordinary match, and that's not even really mentioning that extraordinary skill shot fluke that we saw as well from Kevin George in the second set, which was incredible. But we have to move on. We do have a second game for you this evening, and it should be a real belter as well. Earlier, Simon, you caught up with Dan Morgan and Shane Tregale. That is match number 2. Here's what both players had to say.
How excited to be part of the Shootout Showdown?
Honestly, I'm buzzing. I genuinely am buzzing. I can't wait to get out there and just sort of give it up what I've got. I know I've got a lot in the tank, but yeah, absolutely buzzing to be here.
Yeah, I'm buzzing, to be fair. Can't wait.
And money matches, what is it about that excites you over the tournament, Paul?
Well, I like playing obviously in front of a big crowd. Like, there's nothing better than sort of having people cheering your name and sort of getting a bit of stick when you sort of miss a ball and things like that. And sort of them long races sort of just suit my game better than a shorter format, but a bit of a different format tonight than the usual long money match. So,
tournament play, I can get very lazy, and it's quite a long day. With cash games, I don't know, I just buzz from it, buzz from the crowd. Just really enjoy playing cash games, yeah.
Does the size of the pot you're playing for change the amount of pressure you feel?
No, I'll always feel pressure, whether it was playing for £100 or 100 grand. Like, the money's irrelevant, I just want to win. So the pressure just comes with it anyway, regardless of the size of the pot. So.
No, I'd say no, because I played 2 weeks ago for 16 grand, and today it feels bigger for me. Maybe because of the screens, the TV, I don't know, but so now I'm guessing maybe not.
Live TV for the first time tonight, any extra nerves for that?
To be fair, I'm not really too fussed about the cameras. I've played on stream a few times and I sort of get on okay with it, but no, I'm just sort of, I know what my mind's set on. I'm here to play pool and sort of forget about the surroundings, just get the job done tonight.
Live TV for the first time tonight.
Yeah. Live TV. I hope I don't embarrass myself too much.
Thoughts on your opponent?
Yeah, Shane's a good lad. He's took a bit of money off me during the lockdown at a different format, so I hopefully get a little bit of revenge on him tonight. But yeah, he's a good lad. Like, seems like he can play the decent game, and he's obviously like quite big on the money scene at the minute, playing quite a few games. So hopefully just be a good game, and I'm the one that's victorious tonight.
Wish you the best of luck.
Cheers, thank you.
Yeah, I know Dan through lockdown, Paul. Good lad, top lad. Took a bit of money off him through lockdown, so should be easy tonight.
Wish you the best of luck.
Thanks a lot.
Well, good to hear that both players are buzzing for this one. It's that, I love that word so much. But good to see both players in really good spirits, and they've already played each other, but not in a very familiar format. This was back towards almost the start of lockdown, really, where people were just figuring out what to do with their lives, and live stream pool was a thing. Both players playing via some kind of core system.
Yeah, I think the way it was being played was that one player has both players are playing, and it's just a break, and you try and clear up. If you don't clear up, you get a certain number of points for whether you make a break and dish or a reverse dish. But yeah, both players have played each other before.
Well, they're playing for more tonight, and they're playing on the telly. It's next. Well, welcome back. Shootout Showdown. Paul is on the second game of the night here. Should be an absolute belter. Dan Morgan and Shane Tregale. Simon, two players here who we've seen a little bit more of. Shane mentioned himself, he recently played a money match for 16 grand, which is a much bigger pot than what we're playing for tonight. It's a big old race. It was live streamed on social media. We won't mention how it ended. We'll save his blushes on that one. But it just shows these are players that are very used to the pressure and have been playing a little bit, and good players who really back themselves to put on a bit of a show tonight.
Yeah, I don't know either player particularly well, but I think you know, they both come across as very confident players. Both back their ability. They've both got some style and some swagger around the table. Yeah, that money match a couple of weeks ago, Shane won't want us to mention it. Didn't go his way, and he did say, it was one of the first things he said to me today, was that he was still feeling that a little bit. It was a sore one.
Views on unfamiliar. It was a sitter that he missed, which would have won it.
In a deciding frame, I think it was 24 all, and he had a black to the corner to win, which he missed. One that he'd expect to get, but that is Paul.
Absolutely, and anything can happen, really can. I think Dan's deliberately played that safe.
Yeah, there was no thoughts of potting that, not the way he's left the white.
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Well, to be honest with you, I say there's no thoughts of potting it.
Has he gone and done a skill shot off the third bounce? Yeah, great shot. Hand up in apology from Shane Tregale. But it's what he meant to play, just probably not on the third bounce across the table.
Yeah, first time round.
2.
Yeah.
3. Yeah, there we go.
Just going back to Dan's, I thought the same as you when he played it. He's played that in a way where he's tried to keep it safe and take the pocket, but I think there's no advantage to it. So I think it's just one that he got completely wrong. It was a missed pot, that he was trying to get the white across more to the left-hand side and be on the yellow to the right centre. So, you know, I have to say, good opportunity from Dan that's got away from him.
He's back at the table now, though. The table's now open for Shane to give this a pretty good go. What you said there about the swagger of both players is definitely a thing. You can see they're both got a bit of an aura about them, haven't they? And I think we see this quite a bit with sort of the archetypal money match player. You know, they really they're almost like peacocking around the table to play up to an audience. You know, they're very used to it.
Yeah,
and that's not to disparage in absolutely any way, purely descriptive. But both these players, when they were asked about what do you like about the money match pool, they both said they love playing in front of a live crowd, that buzz. And the live crowd tonight is replaced by a live TV audience instead. But still a chance to get one over and to win that cash. That's a great early black from Shane Tregale, really, really good. And he takes the opening frame. We've mentioned all night and all summer how these pockets play tight. That was a confident, assured shot from Shane Tregale. It wasn't the easiest pot, that one. Made it look it though.
Yeah, nice confident start from Shane. And just going back to what you were saying, I think that both players like to play in front of that crowd, and so often in pool, if they play a weekend tournament, even at a club somewhere, or, you know, a decent money stake tournament, by the time you get to the final, you know, nobody's there to watch anyway. It's mainly, you know, it's just a few locals in the club, because everyone else that's been in the club are players, so you don't get that same buzz. So it's a very different mentality and a very different adrenaline rush playing in tournament play over money matches. So I completely get it, and I get why players want to play in it.
Hammer of a break as well. Oh, he's left himself tough on his first shot though. Just trying to see what he's got on. Right at the bottom of the table goes. But it's tight. He's going to try and take yellows. And we mentioned those pockets are tight. There it is in action. A little surprised to see him take yellows, purely, Simon, because of where the black is.
Yeah, if you're going to take reds, though, I think reds maybe you're having to accept that you're going to have to play a defensive shot at the top to try and open up that black, because there isn't a ball to be able to develop it off your own colour set. So I could see why they both want to be aggressive, so they're taking yellows because that's your opportunity to clear up, but you do need to come up with a good cannon. He attempted to develop the black with his first shot and it didn't quite go to plan, but that yellow that's just above the centre pocket is actually in the perfect position, really. You just want to finish slightly low on it and you've got a huge target. You almost can't miss the black and red.
Should be able to finish on that shot. next if he wanted to.
Yeah, he's maybe a fraction straighter than he wanted. The timing of going for this is an interesting one. Let him play the shot. And the reason I say that is, okay, he might just still be on this yellow, but he was guaranteed to be difficult on his next yellow playing the way he has.
It's actually, just watching that back, it's about as good as you could have wished it to come out, really, but it's still tough. This is a really tough shot.
Great shot.
Played that really well.
It's a frame winner. Yeah, and the reason I say that I bring that up is in normal circumstances, you want to get your hard work done first. You want to develop the balls early and then make the clearance. But in this case, there's definitely an argument to saying leaving that cannon to your last ball so that you land on the black. But a great shot down the
Brilliant
table.
from Dan Morgan. Really, really impressive clearance there. That was difficult, but great work from Dan Morgan. This is Shane Tregale's record. Tregale. And he's got an excellent money match record. 115 lost 5. He's got a 10k win to his name. There's a 16k loss to his name as well. That was his most recent effort a couple of weeks ago. Favourite sports team, Manchester United. A big Chris Gale fan.
Yeah, it's the first one we've seen on Chris Gale, but
a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, Chris Gale, brilliant cricketer.
I tell you what, you talk about sports players that could transition sports. Can you imagine how big Chris Gale would hit a break?
Oh yeah, but he has the same.
Wouldn't be a ball left on the table.
Yeah, but it's also that same sort of, as we were talking about, the sort of swagger around a money match table. It's almost that same sort of, he has that same swagger in the cricket arena.
That's another good break this time.
Watching the players practice this afternoon, my one big takeaway from watching Dan was he has just a huge break. He really has. He's a really big lad with really big leaders, and he really drives through that pack, and we're going to see some big breaks from through this match.
There's one thing I actually noticed about him when I was up there earlier. We conducted our socially distanced interview, but by the time I arrived, he was already sat down. And he stood up again. Wondered how he got in the room. Big tall player, is Dan Morgan.
Yeah, he's a very tall fella. Plenty of room in the arena for him, but he did say he's got to be careful walking around the building because he keeps banging his head on all the doorways.
The cue that he's holding is a regularly sized cue, but it almost looks like the one that you pick up in the club when you're young. That's the baby one. But I tell you, I'm really pleased both players have started the way they have, because I think both Jimmy and Kevin in our last game both found it tough off the start, and it almost dragged them down a little bit, and they almost like to feel it, get a bit more pressured, and then it becomes tougher and tougher. But both players here in our opening couple of frames have really gone after it, and this is a good shot from Dan Morgan. That's an excellent recovery. Needs another one.
That was brilliant. Had to go very close to the corner pocket to be able to get the angle he needed.
Oh, is it gonna drop? No. This is such a good shot. It really is. Now, Shane should be able to clean these up.
That was a nice shot from Shane. One difficult ball on the table. Lands on it with his first positional shot. And now they're all there for him. Even that one on the right-hand side, he's guaranteed to be perfect on. He's just about okay. So he can screw back. White is going across to the left-hand side rather than straight back, so that's a nice little angle.
Cleaning these up really nicely so far, Shane. Chalk of the cue. Easy as you like. Really nicely done. Dan Morgan. Disher Dan Morgan from MK. 5-1 record in money matches. Very poor player Tom Cousins. That's the first time I've seen Tom's name mentioned in a little while, but very respected player on the circuit.
Yeah, widely regarded as one of the very best players in the world right now, so going to have somebody to have as a favourite player. Tom's as good as any.
I think I'm right in saying as well is played pretty much both codes as well, World Rules and Blackball as well, which is obviously the world that Dan comes from. He was an under-21 international for England at World Rules.
Oh, the black!
Oh, goodness me, that was nearly 2-2. Sorry, 3-1 rather, straight off the rip from Shane. That was so close. I tell you what, it's actually the yellow that bumped it away from the pocket. That was tracking right into it.
I think that's the closest we've seen to a golden break without actually having one. Good first shot from Shane, just to nudge the black and the yellow apart, just so that it opens up that top end of the table. May look to play just a nice delicate cannon with a bit of trace of running side here. Didn't get enough running side. Just went past the ball he was trying to cannon into. And now he's in spot a bother. Still on the yellow to the centre pocket, but the pattern from here is trickier. It stopped 1 inch short of where it is, it wouldn't be too bad, but he's actually a little bit thin on this now. Can he get enough side to get into the yellow?
Oh, that'll do.
Yes.
That'll do.
Tough pot on this last yellow, but he'd have taken this 2-3 shots ago.
Yeah, I'd say. Oh, unlucky. Oh, that's tough to take. Did so well to get himself out of bother here. I mean, he's obviously not playing for the second one to go in, but that's exactly the cannon he was playing. He'd have known there'd have been a decent chance of it.
I was trying to work out whether he would have wanted it, you know, he'd have been happier if it stayed on the table, but I think that the pot that he would have left on that last yellow would still been the same, and it was just as easy to get on the black as it would have been to get on any yellow at the top of the table, so I think it probably didn't make much difference. It just came down to one really good pot to the top left that he put onto the jaw. Well, Dan's going to have to play a cannon on the next shot, and it's going to be just a little delicate one. He has to hit the pot into the centre is all but guaranteed. He just has to hit this firm enough to separate the reds and stay on the next ball. Yeah, he didn't hit it firm enough. Just too delicate. It's one of those you can easily overhit, and he was conscious of that, and then he underhits it by quite some distance.
It's not an easy snooker to lay either. He's got to hit a cushion after contact. He's a little bit like, well, what do I do? Have he got it? I don't think he has. I think Shane can see the potting angle of this yellow as he slams into the camera behind him. I tell you what, absolute hell of a shot from Shane Tregale. Oh, she's some top quality pull in this match so far. That's 3-1. Could easily be 2-2. Could easily be 3-1 the other way. But that is an excellent clearance for 2 balls from Shane Tregale. And just on that last clearance from Dan, Simon, what do you think he could have done anything a bit differently with how he approached it?
No, I think in an ideal world, he would rather have left other balls on the table when he played that little cannon that he played, just to guarantee that he's going to be on his next shot. He left it till the last possible ball to go into the cannon, and then he just underhit it. I think he probably thought he was getting a slightly different contact than he was, and nudging one onto the opposite centre pocket. But in hindsight, he probably wants to hit that just a little bit firmer, and he's probably sitting there thinking he's had the chances to be ahead, and he should be worst way 2-2 here, and he'll be frustrated that he's so far behind.
Credit Shane Tregale, though. He very nearly won that frame outright originally. Bounced back really well. 3-1. And both players breaking here like a dream. But really good standards so far in the second match.
Yeah, Dan's not done a huge amount wrong, just a couple of positional errors here and there. I think he missed one down the rail in the last frame that cost him, but you know, we're talking, you know, small margins.
That was a well-judged shot.
Red in the middle of the table, there's plenty of room to land on that. Probably to the top right. The next positional shot's the trickiest part of this finish. He's controlled that beautifully.
I think both players are queuing brilliantly, especially as I think you consider that both of them have had a little bit of time off the table. They've had to have our first match, so they're coming into this a little bit dry, as it were. But they're both coming straight in flying.
Coming in with confidence, isn't it?
So a slightly tricky two balls to hoover up.
He's a little thin here. He might play this with lots of check side. Yeah, he tried to. He's looking for more and has snookered himself. So this has kind of been the story of the set for Dan. Looks like, you know, 3 shots into a visit, it looks like he's going to make a really assured clearance, and just runs out of position to the point where he's big underdog for the frame. So she's just having a little look here, as our referee Donna Evans, at whether this is a total snooker or not. So the clock has been stopped while she tries to work this out. She's just trying to work out whether the red's in front of the yellow. It's a very tight call, has to be said. She's deemed it not a total snooker. The difference between it being a total snooker and not was just whether Dan had to hit a cushion after contact with the red, which he managed to do.
Now, does that red go to the top left? It's the first thing Dan looked at on his way around. I think he might have left this on.
If he has left it on, it's very difficult to get onto the black.
It was. What a shot that is. Goodness me. I think you're right though. Where does the black go? Looking at a double. I think that double's blocked off.
If the double's on, it is absolutely only off the top jaw. That's what he's played. He's a fair distance out.
Some pot though. That is top draw.
It's one of those though, you know you can't do anything on the
Got away with it a bit there, Shane Tregale. Got away with it a bit. Wasn't the best of safety responses. And this clearance should be there. And 4-1 up with 10 to play. 10-ish. Use one frame then away from home. Here's a race to 5 or a race to half an hour, whichever one comes first.
One of the slight rule changes from the competition we had, the Shootout series, to the Shootout Showdowns is that in the last 15 minutes of sets, the clock gets stopped when the balls are being racked. So 10 minutes on the clock is actually just a fraction longer than it possibly was before. Dan will need every minute if he's to get back into this set.
Yeah, it does mean that it's not out of the question at all. So you'd think a re-rack's 30-40 seconds at a sort of average. You consider Dan's got to win 3 frames. It's nearly 2 minutes he's got himself back, you know.
Well, Donna's pretty speedy. I think she can do it 20 to 30, but it takes that time pressure off her, which isn't fair, and is absolutely the right decision for me.
Right, great clearance from Shane. He goes 4-1 up. And he's now 1 frame away from the first set. There hasn't been a huge amount in it. Really hasn't. Both players are breaking beautifully. Every break has seen a ball made. Neither has broken dish so far, which is interesting. There's always been some kind of break in the frame, which has brought the other into it.
And the big statistic looking down the list there for me is the 32 balls potted for Dan. There's a lot of balls to pot to only win 1 frame of pool. He's got a long way through his finishes on a number of occasions.
It's another crunching break.
Black's in motion once again. Chances of us seeing a golden break in this match could be quite high.
Yeah, I completely agree. Both players absolutely hammering it.
Not the best shot that Shane's ever played, but it's come out okay. Just about got the plant. He looked like he was going to miss it. Just goes in, but he's developed a yellow as well. He's put one awkward-ish just above the left centre pocket.
Extension with 8.5 minutes on the watch. Just wants to figure this out.
Yeah, I often question the extension this early in a set, but he knows if he makes this clearance, he wins the set, so his key shot to doing that.
He opted, I think, to take the pocket there. See that? Watch your social distancing, fellas.
One of those speculative plants that if you make it, you feel like you're going to go on and win the frame. If you don't make it, you know you're tying the pocket up to some extent.
But we've seen with the nature of how Dan plays, he's a very aggressive player. Love watching players like this who just backs himself to make anything. And he's not out of this. He really isn't. 3 frames in a row, remember, with half the set. So there's still plenty to play for. And he's got a chance here. The red at the top of the table, I think, passes the black to the top right. He's just having a look at that now. If it doesn't, he might have to get a bit creative.
He tried to land on it, I think, with his first shot in this visit and come up a long way short. And now he's left it to his last ball. It is all legs in one basket.
Which could be handy, or is it not handy? Well, there's your answer.
Couldn't have finished much worse.
Was a really tough shot. Total snooker called, and that may well really finish the frame.
He could have been there a long time trying to hit that red. Yeah, it was as tough as it gets in terms of a snooker. And that should be that in this frame. Shane with a free shot and a visit just to open things up. Probably play red onto black. Careful not to pot the black, which he has done, and now it's wide open. And the reason being, the reason he's done that, and a lot of players probably wouldn't think to do that, and I know a lot of top players that would still say what's the need. But you know, I think it's a good shot choice. Just to, you're nudging the red into a position where it just takes pressure off your clearance. As he knows if he misses a pot further down the table, he's not going to be leaving the red on.
Yeah, and it's a percentage shot, right?
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
Yes, you're improving your percentage of winning the frame if you miss a ball, but also he's made the black easier to pot. Really a bit of a no-brainer, really. But then both me and you are accustomed to playing with the expectation of missing one.
Yeah, there's a reason we're sat
Once upon a time, you weren't like that, but I know things have changed.
Yeah, there's a reason why I'm sat here talking about the game rather than playing it. So it's, absolutely, I need all the advantages I can get. But he has worked this out, and he's played a very solid set of pool here.
Yeah, Shane's been pretty bulletproof actually in this frame, and in this set in general. Been really impressed. Both players have played well, but a real lack of mistakes from Shane Tregale is enough to take the first set. It is 5-1. And that'll do it. Second set when we come back. Welcome back to the Shootout Showdown. This has been a belter so far. Shane Tregale leads Dan Morgan after the first set. We've still got one more to come, and if we need it, a deciding frame as well. Shane there, I think I said it at the end of the first set there, Simon, but Shane, I think both players, for the record, have played pretty well generally, but it just feels like Shane's made a couple of less mistakes, and that's really been the only difference. We're talking really fine margins.
Yeah, a number of times Dan's got quite a long way through a finish and just run out of position on his last ball or missed his last pot. And he's been very close to playing some really nice pool today. But the problem with Paul is if you're really close to playing well, you're often making the game, you know, opening up the game for your opponent, and that's kind of what's happened here for Dan. And Shane's been solid enough to say thank you very much and make those counter clearances and played a very solid set of pool. The good news for Dan is that at least he's getting the opportunities, and he just needs to find a little something to take a couple of finishes out as he misses his first opportunity in set number 2. But at least he's missed early in the frame rather than his last ball, which is what he was doing in the first set.
Yeah, I mean, shots like this, he's always trying to hold the white as best he can, trying to pot it thick. That's a really clever shot from Shane.
I actually think Dan probably had a little bit of a skiddy kick on that. I don't think it was the greatest contact, which makes the missed pot look a lot worse than it perhaps was. Just watch this again. Yeah, I think that's would be a bit harsh to say, you know, he was trying to pot it thick just to control the white, but also I think it wasn't the greatest contact as well.
Shane ended up pretty straight on that red down the bottom rail, and now has to play a really good shot. I'll tell you what, three shots in this clearance so far have all been of the highest quality from Shane Tregale. But is he painting himself into a corner, Simon?
Quite possibly. Red on the left-hand side, red and yellow together. All problems. Yellow going in is not a problem. It's not a foul, but he was trying to get the cannon. Just, you can see how close he was to getting the cannon he was looking for. Just goes by the yellow.
He's still got a shot. He's still on a ball.
Yeah.
Does he go chasing?
But even if he drops this in, you know, what ball are you on next? You're on nothing. I don't think you've got any choice but to play safe. And well, that's a bit of a poor one from Shane. That can happen sometimes. You're chasing a finish and then you finally have to play safe, and you don't give the safety the consideration it needs. That red needed to stay closer to the left-hand corner pocket, and that white needed to be on the top cushion behind the black.
And that's pinching a pocket. Even then he struggled to hold it, I think. Just a safety then from Dan. Shane's potting well though. I And that's the risk. Oh, but the white is in, kicked off the red. That is unlucky. He's potted that beautifully. That's so unlucky.
Yeah, and he knew he was playing into the red. He knew he was getting the cannon to go in off on that angle is very unfortunate. But it's just what Dan needed, really. Yep,
totally agree.
It's really important when you lose the first set and you get going in the second set. Remind yourself you're in a race to 5, second set. Doesn't matter what happened in the first set. You can still win this match. We saw that in the previous match tonight.
So for 1-0. Lovely shot. A good clearance in the end from Dan Morgan. Made that look very, very easy for a player of his ability. It was, but they needed queuing in. And he's now got a chance with the win there to get back on his break. To get himself going.
He does have a huge break so far. Flawless from the break with three breaks, and 3 times he has made a ball.
Now he's on his break. He'll back himself here.
Yeah, what he's after here is just another opportunity. Get his first break in dish and get going. 2-0 ahead. You'll set yourself down. Oh, just when talking about what you want and you get the exact opposite. It's unlucky, but the white was going dangerously close to that centre pocket. He was a little bit lucky that it didn't go in straight, and then it gets pinballed in just a little bit there. But that wasn't the best break that he's ever hit.
That's a rather quote from Brassai. That was the exact opposite of what he wanted to happen. Not a Chris Morris fan there, so I lost him.
No, completely lost on me, that one.
Maybe a few of you will pick that one up. If you don't worry about it. It wasn't worth it. But Shane here, well, he made a bit of a killing in the first set from doing precisely this, from capitalising on Dan's errors. Both players played really well, but Dan made a few errors in the first set. Each one was really pounced upon by Shane. If he can do that again here, he'll tie things back up.
Slight positional error from Shane, and will be interesting to see whether that comes back to bite him in this visit. He absolutely wanted to be on the yellow on the left-hand side on his previous shot and ran too far down the table. And now his positional side of the visit is getting harder and harder.
Can he see that? He can. He might have to swerve it a little bit.
Oh, yeah, that looked like a foul, red first. It just shows he had a huge margin of error when he was moving down the table to be on the yellow on the left-hand side. And he didn't land on it, and then it comes back to bite him. Dan using his free shot just to pop the yellow that's over the pocket, just to open up that pocket for the black. Couldn't have landed nicer with the screw shot on and off the cushion.
Oh
dear.
No.
That really is going to be a gift for Shane.
Well, you sort of said in the first set he made a couple of mistakes that let Shane in, but that's a really bad error. That's an unforgivable one by Dan's standards there. Now, if you're out of position, they're hard shots. To judge, it only takes an inch to go wrong, but that is not becoming of Dan. He's a much better player than that.
Well, we talk a lot, don't we, about this Blackball table and how tight the centre pockets play. In truth, that missed by a decent distance. That was about as comfortable as it gets in terms of, okay, the cue ball was close to the cushion, but it was a nice comfortable pace just to drop it in, and he missed that by quite a margin, which will really frustrate him, especially having won that opening frame in the set. The opportunity to punish another mistake from Shane and get yourself 2-0 in front would have been huge, but has to go back to work now at 1-1.
made ball. Oh, this could be a great split. And it's a little bit problematic at the top of the table. Other than that, the yellows look fantastic here, apart from one.
That one may force him to go reds. He may feel like he can solve the reds at the top of the table easier than he can solve the yellow.
That's exactly what he's decided, yeah. I think all four reds actually, they don't block each other. I think they go. To jam that one in, and that's where you see the pockets play tight. Yeah, any harder and that would have bounced out. But I must say, we've talked a little bit about this table. I've been so impressed that we've seen so many shots. I think one thing, I think I can remember one of the thousands of shots that have been played in this table. We've had what I call a pool bounce out, where the shot's been absolutely perfect and come back out. The reduction in those has been remarkable.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I agree, we've only seen one, and it's still frustrating that we've seen one, but there's a lot more to those than the table design itself. I think we've seen an increase in those since we've predominantly in the pool world, we changed to a different set of balls. I think that's helped with that's increased the number that we've had, and also I think the finer cloths we now play on mean we see even more than ever. So I think I know that the table designers are trying their best to stop it happening, but there's a few more factors involved. What a beautiful visit to the table here from Shane.
You nearly talked that behind the yellow.
Yeah, he wouldn't have forgiven me if I'd talked that one in.
I think he's just fine. Yeah, no worries. It's great clearance from Shane, and he's starting to have one eye on the finish line. On the finish line here is Shane Tregale.
Isn't that always the way, though? A really poor error from Dan not to go 2-0 ahead in the set. Next time he touches the table, he's 2-1 behind. You know, that's fully being punished.
Some players have made careers of punishing mistakes. It's something we always talk about. What the best players do. You know, I mentioned it a lot during the Super Series when we saw some of the de facto best players in the world. You know, like Shepherd, Hibbert, McAllister, Farnsworth, all these top players. We always said, particularly in the first rounds when they were playing players they were favourites against, that what they do so well is if you make a mistake, you know it's going to be punished. That's what the best players do.
And that puts more pressure on you when you're at the table. You feel like if I make a mistake here, I'm not going to get another opportunity. And you do actually feel like when you walk away from the table having made a glaring error, you're thinking, I might not touch the table again until I'm 2-1 behind. You almost feel that. I mean, you can't think like that, but you do feel it from time to time.
Oh, good first shot. Tough second one, though.
Having talked about how good Dan's break is, his last two breaks have not been the best. Fouled his previous one, and this time just didn't catch them as well as he normally does.
Yeah, still made a ball, but you can see the split is a lot more congested than it ordinarily would be. I think that yellow still passes that red, so it's the first thing Dan went to look at. So I don't think that's the best of shots from Shane in response.
In a strange way, though, especially with the way this match has gone, and I think Dan will be happier that yellow stayed where it has rather than dropping. I think Shane would have been happy to see Dan go for the finish there, with the yellow at the top of the table being awkward, a couple of congested balls in the middle. They had pockets, but it would have taken a precisional clearance to make it, and the way the match has gone, Dan's got quite a long way through his finishes and not completed the clearance. I think it almost, you never want to sort of give your opponent that chance.
Oh, watch the shot clock.
But sometimes you are happy that your opponent's going for the visit, going for the chance.
Well, Shane's running around there, purely shot clock based. And the worst part is he couldn't just pop the ball. He wanted to play safe. He was trying to figure that bit out. So not like he could just run and go pop that red. Just had to go hit it. But try and find a way to play something tactical, and in the end, didn't really.
Players, you know, just aren't used to playing with the shot clock, let alone a really short shot clock like we have in the Shootout Showdown. 99% of the matches, well, this may well be the first time that Shane and Dan, or Dan's played more in the World Rule side, where there is a 1 minute shot clock in a lot of matches, but I would say that Shane's very rarely played with a shot clock. I would suspect this is the first time that Dan's ever played with 20 seconds.
We talk about shot clocks, like, I mean, you've mentioned it before on commentary, where a minute now feels like a decade in terms of watching shot clocks.
It's amazing how quickly that's happened. I remember when we had our first Champions Cup on Free Sports, and it was 45 seconds a shot, and as a player, as I was then, I really enjoyed it. I felt 45 seconds was a nice, comfortable amount of time, but I would not want it to be any shorter. And then we had the Premier League at 30 seconds, and the players looked like they were rushed a little bit. Once they got used to it, you know, 30 seconds all of a sudden now feels like a decent amount of time, and we're into sort of 20 and at times 15 seconds with the Shootout, and that really is incredibly quick.
This is turning into quite an interesting safety battle here. Shane's tied up that yellow at the bottom of the table, but it's in a way not the end of the world for Dan, because he just needs an angle to go into it. May well have one here.
I think the natural angle's just a little bit too inside it. He'd have to raise the butt of the cue. Yeah, didn't quite have the angle. The thing is, though, he didn't actually have to pot the yellow in the middle. He could have, if he wanted to play that shot to the white onto the red over the pocket, he could have picked whichever angle he wanted on that yellow in the middle of the table, so that white comes down on the right line. Guaranteed to be on this one on the left-hand side.
Yeah, didn't have to pot the first one, is what you're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, he's worked this out well if he has the natural angle to pop this and go into the one over the pocket. The black does go to the left centre.
Sharp. It's awkward cueing, but he's played that really well. It is a tough shot when the chips are down. Oh, then that's the difference. That's all it takes. That wasn't easy.
It's just not natural for a player to play a cannon or to purposely miss a ball. It's a strange one, really. It's like picking the angle to try and pop that red at the yellow over the bottom right hand side. You're always trying to do it off a pot, but I think he could have been better served not trying to do it off a pot. And the earlier he did it, he wanted to be on the yellow on the left hand side that's over the pocket when he did it, so that he had an easy shot to get back into the visit.
Totally. I mean, it's so unnatural. Oh, he fluked it. No, not quite. I mean, it's so unnatural. It's, you know, as we sit here commentating, we're constantly mentally playing the game that we're watching in front of us, and something I didn't even consider as an option. You know, I think for a lot of players, it's also seldom not something they'd think about. They're so zoned in on patterns and pots and stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. It's very easy to say that was an option from the commentary box, and it may well not be the best option, but just throwing out another choice out there. Well, he hasn't got the snooker. I think he can see about a quarter of this black. Don't know what he can do with it.
It's not total.
Yeah, not a total, says Dollar. I think Dan's trying to persuade it that it is.
Can he see enough of this black to play a cutback double?
Oh, that's what I was thinking. I'm not sure.
It's not far away, you know, but he'd have to hit it very firm. He's considering coming off one cushion and into the black to try and get the black into the bottom right-hand corner. I think wisely using as an extension. This is a massive shot in this match. Oh, that was going close. That really was going close.
Let's watch the line of this one. How close was it?
Yeah, I think that was close, you know.
It might have been near jaw, but it was, I mean, it was close. Really was. He's unlucky. Now can Shane do what he's done all match? Be the assassin, punish the errors.
That was a lovely little shot. I thought he was in a spot of bother, but that pot's just recovered the situation. Now one more good pot along the rail and it really should be plain sailing. He can get the white comfortably up to somewhere near the bulk line, which means he can just screw down the left-hand side with such nice control. Sort of almost feel he should be fairly comfortable on the black.
For 3-1. Around about 10 minutes remaining. 2-frame leads. Still a long way left in this match. It is not all over for Dan Morgan, but he's starting to run out of opportunities. Just 2 more needed for Shane Tregale to take the match and take the match in time, which is not something we see too often. You know, we've noticed in the shootout showdowns in particular, Simon, not very often has a player taken out 5 frames to actually stop the clock early. I mean, we saw 5 minutes and 2 seconds after the first set. That was one of the quickest sets we've seen in all the shootout showdowns, but both players here playing well enough to keep the pace of the match really ticking over nicely.
Yeah, both players playing very quickly, and yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it'd be interesting to see the statistic, but not many sets go to 5 frames. So, yeah, both players are motoring along, and Dan's going to be frustrated. He really is, because he's had the opportunities. He had the opportunities in the first set to be competitive, or if not be in front, and didn't make the most of it. And he certainly has in this second set. Should have been 2-0 ahead. It's gone 3-1 behind, and you know he's now really up against it.
That's not the best of breaks from Shane. Just slowed that one down a little bit there, I felt. And it's still a good split, mind. These have to start going for Dan.
He'll want to stay on the red at the top of the table off this one. Possibly felt he had too much angle, and the reason I say he wants to stay on the one at the top of the table is that red at the top now becomes a problem ball. It's a long way away from the rest of his work. He's going to have to play a very good positional shot. The good news for him is that all the yellows are sort of in the same area of the table, so there is room to play that positional shot. I actually think he could leave himself quite a nice natural angle. Red into the left centre pocket. White goes up the right hand side of the table. And the key is just making sure you don't finish straight. He's a little straight on this. Yeah, he was too straight and had to punch it. If he goes natural, if he goes plain ball, the white's going to go close to the black. He needed to make sure that he left more angle on that so that he could play it plain ball. The minute he had to stun into that, his chances of landing nicely on the red got a lot smaller.
Yeah, that was tough.
Story of the match, it really is.
Yeah,
seen it frame after frame.
Really was the match in a microcosm, wasn't it? Dan playing really well, getting well into a clearance, just coming unstuck. Doesn't take much, really doesn't. Safety first from Shane Tregale. Total snooker.
Possibly could have done a bit more. The reason I say that is if Dan can hit this red, then he's going to nudge it close to the pocket and he's going to put Shane under some pressure. Yeah, and I think if Shane could have had his previous visit again, I think he'd have liked to have done a little bit more, because he wasn't gaining much of an advantage. He wasn't making it a difficult enough snooker, and he wasn't developing enough to play the shot he did. Oh, but that's an excellent shot.
Just feathered it down the cushion, didn't he? Lovely shot.
That's not ideal. Delicate shot if he wants to take it on is to play off the yellow that's just above the left centre pocket. And the reason I'm saying that, the guaranteed snooker is to play the one in the open, but if he can play off thin off the other one, it's a riskier shot, but it would just be developing a bad ball. He's taken the risk-free option. Can't blame him for that. Although there may be a slight gap through the yellows here to at least see the red.
Definitely can't see the potting angle. Or a swerve on. No, he's just going to hit. Take the safety. Six minutes left. Dan needs 3 frames. It is on, but time is starting to run out. I think one thing is for sure, Shane wants to win this frame. It would be all over at this point. Dan would need 4. With less than 5 minutes realistically on the watch.
I'm slightly surprised at the pace that Dan's played that at. He was playing all his previous escapes from snookers, he was doing it with control because he wanted the white to stay in the top left-hand corner of the table because he knew that was going to be leaving it awkward for Shane. He could have done the same thing again, but he could have played it just firm enough to make the pot. That would have left him a shot on the black, but it was also going to leave, worse way, you're leaving the red very close to the pocket, putting a lot of pressure on Shane's next safety, because I don't think he could leave a pot on doing that. So a little bit surprised at the pace that he played the escape from. Shane does have the yellow on the left-hand side that he has to negotiate. I don't think the angle's there to top into it. It's close. Oh, it is. Really got into that nicely to get a quick spin.
Now 2 shots away from being all but home. Beautifully done. And a little tap of the table. He knows how big a frame that was, Shane Tregale. 4-1 with 4 minutes remaining. It is all but over.
Yeah, 4 minutes to win 4 frames. You're not going to do that without a golden break or a golden duck, potentially. He's still going to need something very, very quick fire.
They're just having a little word with him there. I wonder if that's just been mentioned. But the introduction of the golden break means that it isn't impossible. It's incredibly unlikely, but it is possible. There is time to do it in that sense. He needs a hammer break. Black on the move as best he can. He did get a hammer break. It's a good split. Just got to get playing, get the Q arm going. He almost, in this instance here, Dan has nothing to lose. He's just got to try and play quick and get these down. Almost will free him up a little bit, I think.
Yeah, make the quick break dish and at least ask the question. Can't expect Shane to break with a huge amount of power.
Always think when I see players play at this pace that we can introduce a 5-second shot clock eventually.
It's all fine until you're in out of position.
That is a hell of a shot.
Well, holds up his hand. He wasn't expecting the flick on the red that he got. But he'd take this. Oh, he's missed the pot.
Oh, no. You feel for him next. He played such a good shot to get there. And this could be the icing on the cake for Shane. been some performance from him. It really has. He spoke about in his interview, he just didn't want to embarrass himself tonight. He's done far from that. Played really well. It's a great shot as well.
He's done what he's had to do, hasn't he? He hasn't, he's not done, there's not been, lots of finishes from the break. There's, it's been, mop up after Dan's made the error. It's been a very clinical match play performance from Shane. Made very few mistakes on his side of the table, punished some mistakes from Dan, and it's been a comfortable, well, it's going to be a victory.
2 minutes left. 5-1, 5-1. Shane Tregale has done it. Beautifully done. Fantastic work from Shane Tregale. A brilliant win for him. And he mentioned in his interview about how he may well have had a few nerves kicking about from what happened in his previous money match. So a really great win from him.
Yeah, really solid performance. Did absolutely everything he needed to do. He looked confident from ball one. Has got a really good sort of spring around the table, really confident step. And when he had to play a safety and play a snooker, he did. And then when he had to mop up, he did. And yeah, he really just punished the mistakes from Dan.
We'll speak to Shane when we come back, and we'll review both of tonight's matches, including some slow motion analysis as well. More on that when we come back. Welcome back to the Shootout Showdown. Paul here on Free Sports. 2 fantastic games this evening, and a fantastic second game in particular, Simon. A great win for Mr. Tregale.
Yeah, fantastic performance. Really solid all the way through. Did everything he needed to do. Great match play. Played to safety when he needed to. Mopped up the clearances. Really punished the mistakes from Dan. And Dan was getting a long way through his visits and then running into trouble, and actually potted a lot of balls to only win 2 frames of Paul. And Shane absolutely did everything he needed to do, mopping up and very convincing victory. Yeah, we can now speak to Shane. Shane, a big congratulations, mate. A great victory for you. 5-1, 5-1 on the scorecard, but it wasn't quite as easy as that made out, despite yourself playing very well. How do you feel?
I'm so chuffed after 2 weeks ago losing the match. I needed to bounce back today, and I did.
Congratulations, Shane. We talked about it earlier on, but your first match on TV tonight,
yeah.
I was really impressed with how quickly you settled and how comfortable you looked out there. It looked like you loved it.
I was surprised myself how comfortable I felt. It was nice getting the first frame. That's a big one for me. And like you said, I just mopped up on Dan's mistakes. Didn't play many bad shots, and had to play a safety when I did, and I played it well and just mopped up from his mistakes basically.
You mentioned there you had one a couple of weeks ago, which was a real shocker, and I know you spoke to Si earlier, through your own words, I should point out, but I know you spoke to Simon earlier and said it was a difficult one to get over. Do you feel like now you've put some demons to bed tonight?
Yeah. That night I wanted to quit pool. It was that hard to take. Mr. Black at 24 all. And they thought the only way I can get over that is bounce back and play again. And I texted Donna and this come up, and I was absolutely buzzing to play on TV for the first time and try and get the win to then get over that loss.
Did you come into this match with much of a sort of game plan to play a really solid sort of match play? Because normally you want to be really aggressive and go after clearance, but is it just the way the match fell that you felt like if you played a good safety here, then you were going to get the good chance to make the clearance?
Yeah, exactly that. I can't really remember much of the match because I'm buzzing. But yeah, I remember taking out a lot of 6 or 7 balls when he had 1 ball left. He must have broke down quite late, and I didn't come into the match with no plan. I just come in to enjoy it and give my 100%, which I always do.
Well, just on the back of that, now we are at the end of it. How did you enjoy your first live TV experience? Obviously, you've played pretty well. You've got a great win. How do you enjoy it overall?
Oh, I absolutely loved it. It's probably the best feeling I've had in a pool match. So it's going to take a lot to beat this one.
Oh well, we're sure that'll come eventually, mate. Yeah. Congratulations on a great win.
Thanks to all the Orange Media Group and my sponsors, All Stars.
Thank you very much, mate. Congratulations. Well, so a great performance, and just from the human side of it, great to see Shane pick up the win there, because as watchers of pool, which we now are, we see a lot of it, and the loss they had a couple of weeks ago was tough to watch for anyone, let alone actually experience that himself. And he mentioned he had a bit of a hard time over it. A brilliant recovery to be able to come back the other side and come back a couple of weeks later live on TV and say, you know what, I'm a top player. There you go.
It's sport, isn't it? Absolutely. Anyone that's played sport of any level, you have to be able to take the lows. You have to be able to take the losses, and some losses are harder than others. And the one he had 2 weeks ago in that deciding frame would have really hurt him, and it's probably still going to hurt him, although the buzz will be there from winning tonight. But you have to respond. You have to bounce back. He's done that tonight. He's played a really brilliant match, and I'm really pleased for him that he's played such a solid match and that he walks away as the victor.
Yeah, it looked brilliant, didn't he? It was a really good game overall, and our first game of the night was a fantastic game as well. Slightly different in that I think both players sort of struggled to get into it initially, but just the beauty of the way the shootout worked. Despite that, it almost manufactured a drama in its own right between Jimmy Johnston and Kevin George. But we've picked up on something here, Simon, which we're going to take a look at in a sec here. Kevin George eventually going on to take the win, in no small part thanks to this skill shot, which we'll watch it in real time here. And we both reacted to this absolutely amazing shot to double the black off the cushion, and that you can see there, 4.5 minutes left. He was 3-2 down. He had to win that set, so needed the next two. But you picked up on something, you think, here? Yeah,
I think there's been a bit of a murmur on social media over this one, and I think when both of us, when we're watching it live, we've seen that shot, and we're only watching the black. He's hit it 100 miles an hour. It is an out-and-out fluke. He's not trying to make a skill shot in that way, but it's such a surprising result. But when we've slowed this down and watched it, he's actually, you can watch the white rather than the black. The white stops, and then the cue goes through and hits the white again, which is actually a foul, and it wasn't picked up by Donna. But to be fair to Donna, that he's hit this shot, we've slowed this really down a lot, and he's hit it at 100 miles an hour, and it's really hard to see with the naked eye. Once you slow it down, you realise actually that's a foul there, and I think it's probably a foul that you almost expect the player to feel more than the referee be able to see and call. So I'm surprised that Kevin didn't feel that and wasn't able to call it on himself. And it really was a pivotal moment in the match, because if that foul is called, then he ends up losing that frame and he goes on to lose the match. As it happened, it turned the match around. Okay, we had the drama in the deciding frame. Both players had the opportunities to win it, but this was the pivotal moment in the match.
Yeah, it certainly was, and I mean, it's something that we've watched back an awful lot of time. I mean, this must be the 15th time I've seen this now, and it's still difficult for me to detect with the naked eye, knowing it's there. So as we say, we notice it's incredibly difficult to see, but I mean, we're not averse to a little bit of controversy in the shootout showdown anyway, and that was certainly an element of it. Kevin George a little bit lucky there maybe to get away with that one. We'll be back with you though next week, same time, same place here on Free Sports, with some more shootout showdown matches, some more drama, and some more top pull from me and Simon and the team here. A very good night.
Too fast, too fly, too funny, too gas, too high, yeah, we on it. We go wherever the crew going. I'm ready, so tell me who won it.
This program is brought to you by Taom Billiards.